Thanks for listening to the Kojima Frequency. If you're enjoying the show and want to help support it, make sure to check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/KojimaFreak.
So what do we think? Do we believe the Silent Hill quote unquote leaks?
It's a strange one, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many angles. It's like the DM. There was a DMC takedown, right? But then the picture we've got of the DMC takedown was like a weird screenshot. It wasn't like how you would normally produce a takedown request.
I saw the tweet though that originally had the photos, and it did have a legit takedown notice on it.
And then there was that actor as well, right? That kind of confirmed it.
Yeah.
She said something like, "Oh, I see people messaging me about my Silent Hill game," and that's where Nitroid learned how to use like Instagram stories. So
Yeah.
a learning opportunity for all of us.
I didn't know what it was.
Nitroid was like, the
But-
post is gone. I was like, it's gone after 24 hours. He was like, oh, okay. Wait, there's another thing I could tap into.
I was gonna say, yeah, he had to tap the avatar.
Yeah.
How would anybody know that? If you didn't like,
and that kind of
use
adds
that...
the mystery to it. Is like she didn't want that to be a post that hung around. She just wanted that to be a quick story. But then, of course, people screenshotted it, and everything on the internet lives forever. So they'll leak shit, I guess.
Why do people think that was providing any sort of security?
Yeah,
That-
it wasn't, right?
I have
Like,
so
no.
many questions. Ugh.
Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, it's Apache Smash.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
It is really funny that this all kind of happened like the day after Enigma came on. It's like perfect timing. We're like,
Can we do we got his phone number?
yeah, we just gotta have guests on that we want stuff to happen. And
Yeah.
then from there, we seem to just be kind of speaking some stuff into existence. So
First Maxi with the ladder skip, although that's more of the talent of the speedrunner himself. And then now the Silent Hill rumor. So
Who do we got to get on for an HD re-release?
Fukushima's still alive. Would he do anything? With
Right?
it?
Josh Keaton.
Josh
That-
Keaton's a good one.
Oh man. We're gonna go all over the place today.
But yeah, speaking of voice actors not keeping their mouth shut, let's talk about Norman Reedus not keeping his mouth shut.
Blowing it.
You blew it.
I think it's so funny that how like careful like voice actors have to be when they're when they know about projects ahead of time. A certain other person who works on that game was constantly saying, "Yes, I'm in a game, but I can't talk about it. It's an NDA." And then you get like these big time actors who are just like, "Oh yeah, we're just making Death Stranding 2."
Yeah.
NBD.
It's not even like I don't think he was being. It was completely innocent. You could tell it was just another thing to him. He probably is involved in so many projects. Even the big ones get lost in the shuffle.
Right. And I was trying to like kind of look at it from the frame of an actor, and actors, they have projects in the mix all different times. It's not like and to some extent, maybe with like large IPs, things are like very hidden or whatever. But for the most part, I would say that Hollywood tends to disclose more information about upcoming films than the video game industry.
Yeah,
So
games
I
are
can
super
see-
secretive.
I can see why Norman was very blasé, but I could be wrong. I'm just going by my observations.
Do you think nobody told him that he was supposed to be quiet about it? It was just assumed?
I mean, I would imagine it's sort of like a difference in culture there where, it's a bit of an assumption in that,
And he's probably getting fined or something. I don't know. But Kojima didn't seem to mind. I mean, he posted those pictures of him about to murder him like The Walking Dead. But, I think that was all just in jest. He definitely was just kidding. I don't think.
I
Yeah,
think he
he-
was damn well told that he's not allowed to talk about it multiple times. It just kind of went over his head.
Yeah, like imagine being grounded by Kojima and just him telling you to go to your room. It's just like, ah,
Yeah.
damn it.
Kojima always rolls with the punches, though, so like he took it. And...
The shame that you have to feel from like Kojima being like, I'm disappointed in you. Go to your room. It's like, ah.
I feel good about a second Death Stranding game,
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah.
Nitro's expressed this multiple times, but like Kojima works on things to improve them for future titles. Like he, it getting a sequel from Kojima doesn't feel like you're just gonna get the same thing again.
Yeah.
And I want to see some iteration on the combat. There are good things about Death Stranding for sure, and I
Yeah.
would like to see what I consider the weaknesses of the game improved. I mean, the cinematics, they're already 10/10 as far as I'm concerned. The story of the game is really good. I don't like the boss fights. And Days, I think you said recently, like you'd like to see more of like the control you have over the environment brought into the boss fights.
Yeah. More like terraforming type stuff. Like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it could be a really good game.
I just want them to sort of tune the UX and the UI a bit more. Like the UI design in that game is gorgeous, but it is a nightmare to navigate half the time. There's so many options going on, and I get that it's a complicated game with a lot of moving pieces, but it's kind of amazing how a game with such a simple mechanical premise has one of the most complicated interfaces I have ever seen in a video game.
I don't think
And-
it's that bad, but I play 14 every day, and the menus in 14 are
Like,
fucking horrible.
14
Yeah, once you
UI
get
is
it,
still
it's
in
fine.
fucking like 2002. It's
Oh, yeah.
insane. But to that point, I wonder if we to some degree enabled this, because I remember, like, I don't remember, like, I feel like it's almost like an iteration of the MGS5.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he was like, okay, this is not information overload. This should be fine.
It's not. It's not fine. And I don't want to spend 8 hours in a menu before I go for walkies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like, again, there is a lot in Death Stranding that I really, really like. And I'm curious to see what he can do to iterate from it. I mean, when look at any example. I'm repeating myself for like the umpteenth time on this, but anytime he's done a sequel, like Apache said, it's been this huge step forward, or this evolution of the idea, or this completely different direction.
Yeah.
He's very aware of where the weaknesses are.
And he'll like streamline those weaknesses and make them normally makes them easy. Like the key cards in Metal Gear 1. Like I think they realized how annoying that shit was to, especially in like certain situations.
Even then, though, MGS1 was improving on a previous system, because in Metal Gear 2 you had to select the right card, if I remember right. Was it Metal Gear 1 or 2 or both?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Metal Gear 1 you had to have the exact card. Metal Gear
Right.
2 Solid Snake you could have any key, like,
Right,
of the rank
okay.
or better, like, that's
Yeah. And then when you get to MGS2, it doesn't even take it into consideration. As long as you've got the card in your inventory, the door opens.
yeah.
Which, there is something to be said for too much ease of use. Too many quality of life improvements that sort of detract from the challenge of the game. This is one of those, I know we almost never talk about Resident Evil on this show, but
No.
the idea of using the ink ribbons to save is part of the flavor and the challenge to that game, so much that players, wanted them in there, even though they're really not needed.
Yeah.
So
I hate that shit.
Being able to manage your inventory correctly is a huge part of that game. Like,
yeah,
things taking up room, and not being able to access everything at once, and having to plan out your inventory, it's like a huge part of that game. Whereas in Metal Gear, you have unlimited inventory space, right? So there's no point having like 9 levels of cards in there, because it's not affecting anything except annoying you to select them.
Well, 3 through 5 didn't, though. They rolled that back.
3 has the best, because 3 does have keys that exist in your inventory. So when you meet Guerin, he gives you a key, and you can look at that key in your inventory. It doesn't do anything, but you can see it. But inside the game, it literally does nothing, because if you cheat and put that key into your inventory, the door doesn't open still. So like in the warehouse,
you're kidding me.
Even if you have that key, the door doesn't open. It's only when you've done the cutscene does the flag change.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of great.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like we kept the system, but inside the game they actually completely removed it. It's almost like it's just there to be faithful to like 2 and
Cheaters.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that surprised me when we first started using like the dev save to cheat inventories and stuff. The
There,
fact that it was there, but it just didn't do anything.
Well, they did complicate it in 3 a little bit by adding, like, how much stuff you're carrying kinda affected, like, the weight and your stamina dropping more if you've got, like, everything on you and stuff, so
I think that was just a case of there was so many weapons in that
Yeah,
game
yeah,
and
yeah.
so
Yeah.
many items, like it would just be ridiculous to have it all.
No, I thought that was cool.
Your inventory would be a mess, and
Yeah.
I think there's that you can have enough that it never really matters.
Yeah, exactly, that's what yeah,
Mhm.
it never really affected me.
well, even 2 sort of had this problem once you got further in and you had a billion weapons in your inventory, which is why they introduced that grouping version
Yeah.
of the menus,
Mhm.
so that you could sort of get through them a bit easier. But even like, I almost never use that. I kind of hate it. I don't know if I'm just old fashioned.
I don't mind doing the scroll because I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it stops time, so, like, if it were, like, a weapon wheel situation where it's, like, live, like, sure, like, have them
Well,
grouped together or, in folders or
yeah.
something, but
The whole point though is that there's something to be said for these anachronistic gameplay mechanics
Mhm.
and systems that makes it sort of, that's a flavor to it, even though they're not really efficient or contemporary, uh and they can even be cumbersome, in the case of Resident Evil, and having to swap around items and rely on these save items, things like that. There's something to be said for that because it is part of the experience, and it does sort of lend itself to the overall, the sum of its parts, right?
I think what was sad, and there's very few examples that I can really give of regression in Metal Gear, but in Metal Gear Solid 2, you had you could pick your menu in system between previous and unequip, and then they got
Yeah.
rid of it in 3, and it never came back. And I love it. That's what I use in 2. I use
Wait,
previous.
I I'm probably remembering this wrong, but didn't they bring it back in MGO2?
I never played it.
It
It
was
was
in
either like
MGO1 as well, though, wasn't it? I think so.
why the fuck would it be in the MGO and not in the single player game?
I don't know.
If it is, I'm so mad.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
ABC,
genuinely so
'cause
mad.
you could rotate through 3 different ones.
Speedrunning finds out about this new thing and it shaves off another minute of the game.
Yeah.
It
You
would
can
you could save so much time in 3 if you could switch between 2 items rather than go into an equip. You would be able to save like shitloads of time.
well, you can rotate between 3 actually in MGO. You've got
Yes,
A,
you're
B,
right. You can rotate through 3. That's
A,
a
B, and
little
C.
more
I'm
granular
I'm
than
so jealous because that would be even better.
because the idea is that you have your primary, your secondary, and your not sure what to call it, your tertiary, your grenades, things like that.
I'm so jealous.
And you want to switch between them as quickly as possible, or your knife.
Can you do weird things where you can like fire off each gun then and constantly switch between them, so you never have
Yep.
to reload them? You just constantly fire weapons and switch between them.
Well, you do have to reload in MGO. That's one of the things that they forced into MGO is that you can't quick reload.
Well, a lot of people, I say a lot of people, like a lot of speedrunners think that they put the reload in the clip thing into 3 really late because none of the fights seem balanced around it. Like the Shagohod, for example, the Shagohod's like completely trivial if you know how to quick reload the RPG. He'll
Yeah.
never be able to hit you even on the hardest difficulty. So it seems like it was added really late. Like it wasn't there from the start, and the boss fights are just not balanced around it. And like it completely breaks the fury, it completely breaks the end, breaks the pain. So it just seems like it wasn't supposed to be there.
Is the average person going to be doing that type of stuff though? Like trying to
It does tell you to. The game tells you to.
I was gonna say I know I did that as a kid at least.
Yeah.
I did it with with the quick reload stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and in MGO you can't quick reload, but you can use it sort of as an exploit for like the pump action shotgun because it skips the pump.
Yeah.
So you can just fire quick click click, fire click click, fire click click, and there's not much of a delay. There aren't really all that many iframes in MGO, so it was one of the cheapest things you could do in the game.
I'm assuming you just cut all the end in lag after, because the gun fires instantly, right? And then you have a ton of end lag. So you're just canceling that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then they mitigated that in MGO2, but MGO2's got its own netcode problems, and that's a whole episode in and of itself.
I really want to play MGO. I'm sorry, I said this before, but I really want to play it.
We need to have like a sit down session with all of us, Force Wave, and then I got a few folks on Stealth server that need help with it, and just set up the PC emulator. Just a 2-hour work block.
Yeah, I'm down.
Is the crossplay working yet between PS3 and PC? Because I know that was in the works.
I don't think so. I haven't seen anything about that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into it because there are two server groups running MGO2 right now. There's the MGO2 PC group and then Save MGO, and they're actually different servers.
Why is no one working on getting Ghost Babel link play online?
You can, I thought. Can't you?
There's some type of like remote play thing through like SNES, I think, where you can do that over the net.
Oh, actually, I just thought you'd be able to play it on Parsec. You just set it up on one person's computer, right?
I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think it was Parsec. I think that's what it was called.
Days, do you want to play some Ghost Babel?
Yeah, sure, why not? You know, we started off with Peace Walker, possibly Peace Walker with Enigma, and now we're talking about like Ghost Babel, you know, natural progression.
Why aren't we talking about Metal Gear Rising, the most popular Metal Gear game ever made, according
Everybody's
to
favorite.
some people?
Oh my god, that's such a Zoomer statement.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be ageist, but fuck.
Yeah, I know. Rising's been this like meme since 2013 that just hasn't really gone away. So I don't know. I guess when they were like tracking like actual like play count all of a sudden, and maybe it has to do with some of the sales that were going on. I actually did buy it on Steam recently because I didn't realize that the PC version came with the DLC for it. I never did get around to playing that on PS3.
It's not too bad.
There's a lot of people who kind of hate the Rising culture that's spawned around the game, and it just kind of reminds me of all the cringe stuff I was into on the internet when I was younger. And I just don't get why people are getting so mad at it. It's like, people get into like dumb memes online, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun tongue-in-cheek action game. I mean, and you shouldn't look at it as anything else. I mean, it's definitely self-aware of its like ridiculousness.
I will say it is kind of insane how much reach that game is getting. I talked about this elsewhere already, but my kids have been exposed and are well aware of Metal Gear Rising memes.
Oh yeah.
And it is not because of me. And like you would think anything my kids know about Metal Gear would come from me. No, not in this case.
How did you find out your kids knew about Rising, Nitro?
Because I saw my oldest son laughing his butt off at a Rising video.
Oh, okay. Was it by Wes?
I hope it was by Wes.
I don't even know which one it was.
Shout out Wes.
I should. Yeah, Wes's videos are great.
That's why.
Is that what did it? Wes, is this your fault? You're going to have to come on the show and answer for this because you've now influenced my kids. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to explain yourself.
Yeah, I think Rising has seriously grown in popularity because of Wes's videos. And everybody's like, wait, what is this? Because, yeah, they've blown the fuck up.
Yeah. I was like over 100,000 concurrent players on Steam.
That's actually nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's more than most modern games.
Everyone say your favorite Rising meme. Mine is my source is that I made it the fuck up.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Mine is how about full of shit? Is that a meme?
That sounds like a meme.
I lost.
No, that's the meme. That's the quote. You're full of shit. Is that a meme?
This is how out of fucking touch I am. Why am I fucking old? Why?
Have you played it, Apache?
I have played it, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't completed it, but I have played it.
My favorite is again one of Wes's, and it's the Uno one, and that just killed me.
Mine doesn't have it. I have the oldest Xbox known to man.
I have the oldest Xbox known to man. No, you don't. I bought mine on day one. Well, mine didn't have it. You have Uno, you fucking dick. I don't have it. You have Uno. I don't fucking have Uno, motherfucker. Go to it in the arcade. I don't have to. You'll be able to download it for free.
Fun fact: the guy who sings "Rules in Nature," he does a lot of the pretty popular Final Fantasy 14 songs.
Can we get that guy on?
Oh my god, I wish. I would just talk about Final Fantasy 14 all day. It would be ridiculous. This would turn into I don't know, the Yoshida Link Pearl.
The Yoshida Link Pearl.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's on the note of the reason I mentioned Final Fantasy is because like I noticed the proliferation of Rising memes and like 14 forums. So you'd hear like standing here I realize as somebody like goes Leroy Jenkins into an ultimate fight.
Jeez.
So, you know, it's like you can't get away, right?
There are a ridiculous amount of Metal Gear memes in Final Fantasy 14. I was astonished every time. Like every once in a while, I'd be doing a quest, and I was like, the title of this quest is a Metal Gear reference, and there's no way it's not.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Like Gunblades of the Patriots. Come on now.
ARR had quite a lot.
God. It's bizarre that this is the game that's getting the kids. You know? Just Metal Gear 2 exists, guys. I promise it's better.
I think it's good.
But I think at the same time, it speaks to sort of this like absurd postmodernism that appeals to kids and they're like blown out JPEG memes.
Yeah.
Like it knows it's absurd.
Yeah.
And
it's like anti-humor.
Yeah.
I may not think Rising is the greatest thing ever made, but it's honestly it's a more fitting like future for the series than fucking Star Trek Picard is. Like I'd rather Rising the future of Metal Gear than fucking Picard the future of Star Trek.
Dude, we've only got an hour. We can't get into Star Trek Picard.
I just saw the parallels there. I just thought like, you know, it could be worse.
I do have to ask though, like on the subject of the kids and Rising and their crazy memes, are we the first generation that because of our familiarity with technology and the internet and the fact that we sort of were the first ones to grow up with it, are we like the first generation that is sort of a bit more aware and understanding of how the new generation functions just by virtue of that? Like we kind of like we're still detached, but we get it. You know?
I think we
sort of,
you know, obviously we would still have subjective opinions. I mean, I just popped off on how Zoomers like their game is Metal Gear Rising, but at the same time, I think yeah, you know, we're in this unique position where we can better experience their experience than our elders experienced ours.
Right, we're not like, you know, those kids and their loud music. We're like, oh, that's weird. They like Rising.
Silly game.
I don't feel like an adult, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I also blame the internet for that, because I sure as heck don't. And I've got 2 children.
Who love Rising.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know, like, they've never played it. They're just aware of it and think the videos are funny. But I bet that's most of the kids.
I wonder if they look at Rising the same way that like I used to look at cheesy action films from the 80s. Like,
oh,
it's like a B movie kind of, and you just like enjoy it anyway. It's just like Toxic Avenger type shit. Yeah,
just balls to the wall. Like
some of the 80s stuff was earnest though.
True.
Like that 80s stuff is like, yes, it's ridiculous, but a lot of it was done earnestly because that was the style of the times. But Rising is much more aware of how ridiculous it is, you know? And so it's like, is it possible to laugh to like can you ironically appreciate something that's already ironic?
It's damn kids and their irony.
I'm so lost. Ugh. Maybe I am out of touch.
I thought of an upgrade that I'd want in Death Stranding 2.
That sounds like a rad game. Give Sam a sword.
At what point are they just going to make a second one, though? Like, why haven't they made a second Rising game? I can't figure that out.
They hate us.
Do y'all remember when there was, like, that preview? Like, this PlayStation preview, and they showed, like, this Electric 2?
Yes! What? I don't think that was anything, but that got everybody so mad.
Yeah, we got that too, and it was like during the MGS5 hype era, so that was like another layer of shit on top of that.
And it was nothing. It was just, I guess it was just some marketing guy was like, this 2 looks cool.
It was for something.
Or it was related to some other project.
No, yeah, it was for another project. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember what it was.
But you're like, you did it in the Rising font, and it looks like Rising. Exactly. Like, what are you doing?
It's a little different. I'm looking at it right now.
Is it a little different? I mean, from memory, like...
Like, look, there's more like
Oh.
lightning bullshit, and then the 2 is actually like a metal. Man, it was
It's
was
close,
first-
dude. It would pass.
Yeah, but it was definitely for like a second game of another franchise. I don't remember what it
man.
was.
That was during one of like Jeff Keighley's events too, wasn't it?
That man is getting his shit in IMAX.
Yeah, that's why I think we're gonna get something big right there. The man loves Kojima, and he's gonna put Kojima on IMAX.
Can you imagine Kojima in the theater is like, watch Keighley's Summer Game Fest?
Oh man, I mean, it was weird. I went to the PlayStation event thing that they had in theaters because it was free and they were giving stuff out, and I was like, sure, why not? And that was the year they announced Death Stranding. And Kojima comes walking down the light up walkway, and they're playing the Mad Max soundtrack, and he's like, I'm back, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was sitting in a movie theater watching Hideo Kojima announce a new game, and I'm like, what is even going on right now? What are video games at this point? So, I don't know, is it really that? I don't know how weird it is anymore. Nothing is weird anymore, because everything is weird.
That's isn't that like the whole point of postmodernism?
Kinda.
Nothing is weird when everything is weird. Which actually, I hate to keep going back to the Death Stranding conversation because like we've kind of moved on, but like I figured out what improvement I want to have with Death Stranding, and that is, and if this was a thing, that I missed it because it wasn't very intuitive. But being able to have more granular settings, I know we just talked about things being less complex, but I would like to be able to, maybe on hard mode or more challenging mode, be able to like have to organize my cargo myself. Because it's something you had to take into consideration, but you could just press like hold triangle and the game kind of solved it for you. I would love to be able to add sort of that challenge of what's the best way to pack my shit. Rather than like, and I guess you could argue, yeah, just don't click auto arrange, Chelsea, but I'd like to have like an intuitive way of doing it. Like, on like hard mode, or like on hard mode, or you turn the setting off to have auto arrange,
right,
and
full
then you
manual.
have a setting. Yeah, you have a setting to like manually put together your cargo.
You can have these granular, complex systems without having an obtuse AI, or UI. It's doable. They just need to sort of trim the fat on it. It's. I think that Death Stranding, they just had so many ideas, and since it was their first outing with this, they weren't quite sure how to fit them all into the same space.
Do you think a prequel or something could maybe like wind it back a little bit and maybe like, I don't know, like simplify it and kind of, like break it down a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, how much more simple can you get than put packages on back and go?
I'm just saying with something like the technology.
It would be interesting.
Give it like a different approach of like how they used to do this type of shit. Like a lot of stuff would still function the same, but you would just get different versions of it, kind of.
What if it's a prequel and you just work for Amazon?
I mean,
Jeff Bezos makes you run the packages even as the Death Stranding is happening. Void outs everywhere.
Death Stranding Prime.
Yeah, and they're like, how did the world get like this? And a picture of Jeff just appears on the screen, like fades onto the screen. You find out everything that's bad in the world is because of Jeff.
It would have to be, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be a prequel or a sequel, but either way, Norman is involved, right? Like, I guess there's no confirmation that he's the protagonist.
Spoilers, what if it's about him and Lou trying to maintain...
That'd be cool. Plays Lou.
That's another thing, is like, that was such a nice little bookend. They get to have like a peaceful life. He discovers that Lou is actually Louise. Like, I would hate for that to be tarnished for the sake of a sequel. Unless, Norman is casted as like, this is like 20 years after the events and he's happily retired and his daughter's going to college or some shit.
He's your Die Hardman.
That'd be crazy.
Interesting. I mean, there's the whole rest of the planet out there, right?
Yeah, that's
Right.
another. Yeah.
Didn't they mention that too? Like, the Death Stranding happened in other places, or
Yeah. I think so. God, I don't know. my lore awareness.
I mean, Fragile had to get that accent from somewhere, right?
Yeah. Plus, I'm still mad that we didn't get to go to the moon. Felt gypped,
You gotta save it for the sequel.
I guess.
Watch, there's gonna be one little quick snippet of like him like leaning straight back like in a rocket taking off. Like,
Do it, please. I want to walk on the moon. I don't even know why you would do that. There's literally no good reason to do it, but I want to do it.
dude, have you ever played any game with like low gravity? It's fun as shit. What are you talking about?
Oh, I know. I'm saying narratively there's no reason to do it, but I want it. Like, I wanted Metal Gear in space. People used to joke about it. I was like, nah, do it.
What if the BTs are on the moon and they're about to eat it? There you go.
That's kind of the plot of Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Just FYI.
BT's on the moon. My next indie album.
They're gonna be called MTs
Moon.
because they're empty. I don't know.
God. All right, we have spent most of our time laughing at Rising, theorizing about Death Stranding 2. We had about 12 topics and a laundry list of Q&A. Should we try to hit some of these other points?
We'll get to some of the Q&A. We don't have to hit all
Yeah.
of them for sure. It was a lot. Thanks for sending in the questions, everybody.
At such short notice too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We sort of just glossed over Silent Hill and the leaks though. Do you think they're real?
I mean, that seems like a game. That's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Silent Hill. Like those photos seem to be cohesive enough to be a project that is happening, but I don't know if it's Silent Hill or not.
For me, the question is less of is it real or not, and more of does it actually make an impact on anything? Because for all we know, they could be there could be some other reason why they're scrapping it, and there's nothing consequential actually coming out of these leaks.
Do you think it could be abandoned art and not necessarily part of an active project?
No.
Oh my god. That is a fucking story for me. Like
What did you say, Days, the other day? You're like, I want like a full Netflix documentary on this shit by the time it's all wrapped up and done.
I want like Netflix and Hulu, and they're all about these like scammer documentaries. Well, here's another one for you. Fucking Hassan and Abandoned. Like, I don't want to try to, if we can cut this out, if you think it's a little too, like, I don't know what the word is, like conflicting or it sounds too accusatory.
We're good.
But I know that Man Fights Dragon, Lance, he tried to give Hassan in the blue box like the benefit of the doubt, like sometime earlier last week sometime last week. And then all of a sudden, he deletes those tweets and he's like, look, some shit's about to go down and I don't want to be tied to this.
I know he like straight up Pontius Pilated it. He's like, I wash my hands of this matter.
Yeah. And, I don't know Lance that well, but he seems like, a pretty inquisitive, open-minded guy. So for him to be like, I need to get the fuck away from this, like, what is going on?
And we'll wrap this up with a big ol' allegedly. But yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. Some people were just alleging or just alluding to it maybe being some type of investment type thing, or I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me, like a Uwe Boll sort of thing, which I think we even joked about before at one point. But from what I understand, there were according to Hassan, there were some images that were being shared between friends of the company, and they were joking around by adding like Silent Hill 5 logos and stuff like that to development images, and they weren't meant to be public, and they got out, and that created a big storm of attention that they didn't want. And that was what I think Lance was talking about originally. But then, after that is when he sort of backed off. So I'm wondering what the heck's going to happen. I mean, I've always thought these guys were kind of just in over their heads,
Yeah.
And but God, I mean, who knows? It's so hard to tell what's going on. I think the one thing we can say for sure is that it has nothing to do with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
And if it does, find me a hat to eat.
Yeah.
Keep Hassan from Kojima challenge.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, if it is, that would be pointless. Like, why would you do that? Congrats on fooling us by lying. You know,
I would that would be the first time I was legitimately like, Kojima, this is mid.
yeah.
Because it's not a very good quality, even if it was a ruse, it's not a very good quality one.
Yeah, lying is not clever.
It's so funny to think about Kojima being like, that's fraud, man.
Like, he knows how far to push it, and this is a bit far.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
God, I don't know. I mean, if it is legit, though, the art, and it is Silent Hill related, I guess there are 3 possibilities. Either it's from a discontinued project, I guess there are more than 3, but these seem to be the 3 likely possibilities. But either it's just something from a discontinued project, because I mean there was Masahiro Ito art in there, and that's very obviously his work. You know.
Yeah.
Or it's an amazing fake. Or it's this rumored Silent Hill that's being done by Bloober Team, which it kind of reeks of them, you know?
Yeah.
It's got
with the
some hallmarks.
I hate myself writing on
Yep.
the character's forehead. Like, come on.
Yeah, it reminds me of the fucking Joker damaged.
Yeah.
Same energy.
I hope it's set in Britain because Britain's scary.
A lot of people, yeah, I guess there were like hints in the images or things that indicated that it might be taking place in Britain. But I saw this meme about the whole Britain aspect, and it was like, see that a new Silent Hill is announced. It's set in Britain. The entire area is covered in fog. There's no sunlight. Everybody is miserable. It's raining all the time. And then you buy the game and you play Silent Hill.
Yeah, it's sort of like I try not to get stabbed.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that tweet the whole time you guys were talking.
Apache's like, I could do art consulting for this game.
It's one of those that I saw and it was like, I wish I wrote this.
Needs more gray.
I wish I wrote this.
Man, what was that like really British word on the like
This Calypso is fucking minging.
Is it Mingen? Oh my god, with the Tataru edit.
I don't even know what that means.
There's this fucking meme about this drink and it's this British kid and they're going fucking wild about it and they keep going, I've just bought this Calypso, it's fucking minging, and that's the word that was written on the person's face.
If it makes you feel any better, I think they brought Calypso to America.
Oh, word. Hopefully you don't find it as minging as we did.
I was about to say, I don't know if it's fucking minging over here, but it exists.
So
So we're agreed that Bloober Team does not understand what the word subtlety means.
No.
Yeah.
Minging is a British word that means disgusting. It's only used in Britain as far I've never heard it anywhere else.
That's really funny. Oh man. And then I guess the third option, because of one of the actresses, was, I don't know if it was an Instagram post or what, but I guess somebody posted a collection of images of her and the art from the leak, and then a photo of Hideo Kojima next to an actress in a motion capture suit.
Yeah.
It didn't look like the actress from the Instagram post, even though it was part of her IG post.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, and people took the fact that she was like, why do these posts keep coming out, as, or I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was some sort of a, you know, like, these keep popping up, and they took that as sort of an implicit confirmation that she was the one in the photo, and it's possible she just sort of glossed over it and was commenting at just sort of the attention that she's getting, you know, and it's not necessarily an indication that Kojima is working on this. Plus, if he is, and that's the art, man, no, just no.
And it,
It's
it
wor-
goes back to my point of like, just because it's real or not doesn't make it exactly impactful. Because for
Yeah.
all we know, she could just be like, I worked on this shit 2 years ago and it got scrapped. Why are you bothering me with this?
Could be. I mean, that's just a job, right? Something's the dam is gonna break one of these days, and we just have to wait for it.
Was everyone listening out for the dam to break?
Who put Morbius 2 on the list?
me, just because like they said, oh, they're gonna like everyone was raging about the idea. Well, shout out Arthur. Arthur was upset that we might meme Morbius 2 into existence, and it just I don't know. It was happening at the time we were writing it.
And if Patchy's like, don't threaten me with a good time, Arthur.
The question is, did the memeing of the first film actually make it any additional money?
I'm sure it did. Whether that was like quantifiable as far as the studio's concerned, I don't know.
Is
but-
it out on streaming already?
It's on Apple TV.
Okay. Yeah, like Sonic 2 is like already out on Paramount Plus. So I'm just like, I don't know, things are having quick turnarounds.
I'm not giving Paramount any money.
I can't ethically support Paramount Plus after what they did to Star Trek and Halo.
Amen to that. I'll drink to that.
Oh God, Halo! I forgot about that. I'm so glad I'm not a Halo fan, but I know as a Metal Gear fan, my time is coming. It's gonna happen.
I feel like we talked about this before, but what is the equivalent of Snake taking off his helmet and then like fucking a prisoner of war?
God. Sorry. Running out and going, "Hey, look, I'm here." I don't know. As a distraction. God, I don't know.
And then like ditching Meryl for Sniper Wolf. I don't know.
Snake I mean, I guess here's the worry, because Master Chief, Solid Snake, these kinds of characters are more archetypes than characters in a lot of ways, you know? And what I haven't seen the Halo series, but from what clips I've seen and from what I've heard people say, they tried to sort of, you know, write almost an entirely different character for him.
Yeah, and it's a side canon. Like they're not even, or it's like a whole different canon. They weren't trying to overwrite anything. This is like its own thing. So I think they did kind of imply that like by the end of it, them like fucking around kind of caused the whole fall of Reach thing to happen. So like
That's funny.
yeah.
Oh man. But the idea, like that's fine if you want to do an alt universe thing, but the point is more that it seems to misunderstand what Master Chief is. I don't say who Master Chief is, I mean what. He's an archetype. You know, he's obviously there's a character there. Obviously there are, you know, motivations, there's personality, but it's closer to a blank slate than a lot of other characters because you're supposed to sort of put yourself in there. You know, there's enough empty space for you to fit yourself in. And Solid Snake is kind of the same way. So
More so Venom Snake, but go ahead.
yeah, true. And sort of Raiden is sort of the ultimate expression of that. But you know, it's I guess what I'm worried about is that when they get to making a Metal Gear movie series, whatever you want to call it, and I mean, it's gonna happen one of these days. I think it's inevitable. Are they gonna try and make him more of this fleshed out whole character and just not let him be the thing that carries the audience through the movie?
Yeah.
You know?
Or is he just going to be like MGS1 Snake, where he's just like really horny and just extra misogynistic and stuff? Yeah. Yeah, like I tried to show my girlfriend like MGS1. She's like, Jesus Christ, like just like the like first like codec call between like him and Mei Ling and Naomi and stuff.
You're a fan of this?
Yeah, she was like, holy shit, dude. He's like really pouring it on thick. I was like, yeah, that's part of it.
Welcome to the 90s.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like I love Fifth Element, and then I look back and I still love the movie, but it's like Corbin Dallas is I'm gonna fuck up her name. Mila Jokovic is like 18 and Bruce Willis is in like his late 30s. Like, wait a second.
Like in real life or in the movie?
Well, in the movie she's like an alien, so I can't assume her age. But as far as it's just like you guys were saying, it's kind of a trope it's still kind of a trope of action films where it's like the super old dude.
Yeah.
And the young girl. And that was the same thing with I deal with the same thing with Meryl and Snake. But wasn't Meryl like 18?
Yes.
Snake was in his 30s.
It's called Born Sexy Yesterday, right? The trope.
Does Picard count?
Oh God.
Fucking Picard.
Because
Don't do it. Don't
when
do
you
it. I've
think
already been
about
told
it,
I can't talk about it. Don't do it.
because I mean the age difference.
Well, I know one thing: we are never getting a sponsorship from Paramount Plus.
I'm okay with that. I don't want their money. They can
I
keep
don't
it.
want your money, yeah. Why don't you use
Take
it
that
to
money and
fucking
hire a
fight?
better writer.
Why don't you use it to help the environment since you're so fucking fixated on talk about it in your episodes?
Dude, is Paramount, last thing I'll say, but is Paramount and their Star Trek machine company, subsidiary, whatever you want to call it, is that like a giant money laundering scheme? Because I can't imagine them making any money from any of the 5 dog shit Star Trek shows they've got airing simultaneously.
I think Picard is so bad it's hard to like say. I mean, I haven't watched Strange New Worlds yet, but it's hard to say Discovery was that bad when you compare it to Picard because I
Yeah,
don't like Discovery, but I can see how
Picard was
someone
worse.
would. But I
Yeah.
can't see how anyone would like Picard.
Everything's relative, man.
It's weird when it's a series because you don't really have to worry about like ticket sales and stuff like that. Like when it's a Netflix, like they're just trying to like keep you on, you know, like, and you're just, as long as you're keeping your monthly subscription, they probably don't give a shit what you're actually watching. But
I guess, but still, they want to drive people to their service, and nobody likes it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's fair to call Lower Decks like trash compared to Picard. I think Lower Decks is alright. It's not
I like
great,
Lower
but
Decks. I
it-
can't. I have to say it.
I don't think it's amazing, but it's not bad. I don't think it's bad.
I think it's all degrees. I'm just holding out for the Orville.
Yeah, you could like Lower Decks if you just look out for like the little references that they leave in the episode. It's not like when Picard does a reference and it's like Project Khan written on a fucking notebook. They
or
really...
Wesley with a shit-eating grin out of nowhere.
well, that's, you know, that's kind of like what I told, you know, my girlfriend about it too. I was like, this is a show that's like based on, or this is a game that's like based on fucking Escape from LA and, you know, these crazy movies back then. So I don't know. It's the whole feel of it's different.
Yeah,
My girlfriend played MGS2 in current year and she liked it.
MGS1 though, that's like specifically, I guess, is what we're
Yeah,
talking
I
about. MGS2,
get, like...
by the time that rolled around, it is a little bit more subdued, and that's like MGS1 Snake is fucking wildin'.
I think it's my favorite version of Solid Snake. I don't know if that's controversial, but MGS2 Solid Snake's my favorite.
I like it too. I'm just saying, it's definitely like early '90s Kojima. Some of that like Police Knot stuff is kind of hanging on still.
a little bit.
Should we do some questions, by the way, before we...
Yeah, we can do one each to start, and if we decide we want to do more, we can.
Cool. I'm gonna go for the Gooch. Sup, Gooch? Is the boss's name actually Joy? And why is the answer no? Joy is not her name. Yeah, the Joy is not. Joy is not her name. All the
Thanks,
Cobra
Gooch.
unit
Great
have,
contribution.
I'm reading it. I'm like, do people think? No one thinks this, right? This is like making
No.
up someone and getting mad at them, right?
Yeah,
It's like when people call Daenerys Khaleesi.
it is.
Did you write, Apache? Did you write this? Because this sounds like one of your tweets.
I did not. Like, I'm honestly, I was hoping, not hoping, but when I said that, I thought you guys might have been like, oh yeah, people do that. But no one does this. If anyone out there does this, you're an idiot. But
Well, what is interesting is we don't know her name. I think that's kind of cool.
oh, okay. So because people don't know her name, they say it's Joy.
I think that's the stupid thing to do, but I mean, that's her code name, but it's, yeah, I mean, she's had a couple of nicknames, but we don't know her actual name. I thought that was kind of always cool that they did leave something of fucking mystery in the series, but yeah.
That's true. That's also true. That's like the two things left: the boss's name and the voice actor for Eva.
I think it's cool that she's the only one that has a positive emotion, right? They all have emotions. She's the only one with a positive emotion.
So that means she enjoys all the killing, huh?
Something I didn't know until recently, and I don't really watch anime, but the micro bombs that are in all the Cobra unit, that's from an anime, right?
I mean, it's a Super Sentai throwback. You know, if you watch, or Power Rangers, if you will. Every time the boss gets defeated, they fall down and explode.
Well, I have seen
That's it.
Power Rangers.
That's
so,
it. That's really it.
Well, they do that in Mega Man.
They do it in Battle Royale, but for different reasons.
I guess. I mean, it's a trope, you know?
Yeah.
It's you're not supposed to think too hard about it. I mean, there's an in-universe reason for it, but in terms of like why they chose to do that visually, like that's why.
That was a retcon reason too, with like the parasites and stuff, where they're trying to like cover up the experiment.
Well, they explain in MGS3 that they have the micro bombs.
They do.
then later in MGSV, they talk about it being
Yeah.
like a parasite cover up type thing where they didn't want the research to be found.
As a kid, I was really into Battle Royale, and I always thought it was like Battle Royale with the bombs around the neck.
You know, you being into Battle Royale as a kid explains a lot. But that's okay, because I was into Battle Royale too.
Yeah, I love that film.
I love it, but it disturbs me. So like seeing all these kids playing like Battle Royale games in Fortnite, I'm like, oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, I told my 15-year-old cousin, she was super into Fortnite. Not 15, she's like 16, 17. She was super into Fortnite. I was like, you need to watch Battle Royale. That's like where all these games like come from. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. And then she messaged me like a week later, like, what the fuck did you tell me to watch? I just think that sort of shit's normal.
I was expecting wait a minute, that was just Hunger Games. What the fuck?
Yeah.
This is where you should be like, I'm sorry, I'll give you something easier. Check out this Korean film called Old Boy. You're really gonna like it.
I loved that as a kid too, like the fight scene in the hallway.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, great question, Gooch. Thanks for that one.
I did find a question that I thought was pretty interesting, especially given the discussion that we had today. But yeah, the question comes from Sean the Senpai, and he asked, what game, I'm assuming what Metal Gear game had the biggest impact on the world, both culturally and politically, and why?
That's a good question.
And I thought that was an interesting conversation because, like, when I think of that question, like, for the second one, I immediately think of, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 because
yeah, I think that's gonna be all our answers pretty much. I mean, that's my answer for sure too. But
I mean, if you had $1 for every think piece about, you know, Metal Gear Solid 2 predicting the future or whatever, then like you'd be able to buy like 4 copies of it. But to that point, like it kind of goes back the second part, or rather the first part, culture. What was the most impactful culturally? I'm sort of like on the fence about that because like there's so many variables to it. I mean, we literally just talked about Metal Gear Rising like culturally proliferating
yeah
with another generation, but our generation probably affiliates more with culturally with like the actual stealth games, the main series.
Yeah.
So yeah, food for thought.
Is it MGS1 maybe?
I mean, maybe like video game culturally, sure, like that made like a big change on stuff. But I think if he's talking like an actual real world, you know, like the whole MGS2, like impact on the world, both culture and politically. I mean, you know, if you talk about the MGS2 thing, we were talking about the other day, Nitro, how it's like it kind of has negatively impacted stuff where it's like now you got all these guys like thinking so just like conspiratorially about stuff where it's that's like why this is why we have Abandoned, you know? It's like people like that are that head deep into MGS2 never be game over type thinking, you know, they're gonna just be all over this type shit. So
I think it was Ghost Babel.
Huge impact.
I refuse to elaborate any further.
It was Metal Gear 1, but the NES port, just the NES port.
Walks in, says Snake's Revenge, doesn't elaborate, leaves.
You know, elaborate on that. No.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I've got one from Crisis Edits.
That's one of them I was looking at.
Okay, well, fuck out of here.
I don't know if I've got an answer. Go for it, because I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm parsing the question correctly.
He said, with a series like MGS, which very much empowers various interpretations and finding your own truth, is there a conscious struggle between defending what you believe to be true while also upholding the series' themes of finding your own name regarding topics or debates revolving the series itself? That is.
I'll start by saying I think I'm too hot to answer this question.
I'm trying to. Do you have, what do you think? Because that was your pick.
I mean, you know, there's that whole there are no facts, only interpretations thing. So I mean,
I hate
everybody that comes into this game is gonna get their own thing out of it. I mean, that's why there are still like arguments about simple things about this game, because people just perceive. Sometimes there's this huge onslaught of information, and sometimes you get all of it. Sometimes, you know, some people are missing that little piece of the puzzle. But, you know, that's why everybody's, you know, trying to just get like a good consensus here. It's like, did Snake dye his fucking hair or not? Like, we need to know. So
Unfortunately, a lot of people take that line of the there are no facts and they use it as sort of a bludgeon to say everybody else is wrong,
Yeah, exactly.
which is really annoying.
You could take a quote or series of quotes from anywhere in the series and get it to interpret whatever you want to be right about it.
Oh, sure.
Because the game's just said so much.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of goes in with like you can pretty much find any report that will back up your side of an argument if you want to. Like there's just going to be that out there.
Well, we had an episode ages ago that sort of dove into this topic a little more deeply. It was when we were getting into like the death of the author.
Yeah.
And what is more valid, the interpretation of the person consuming the work in question, reading it, watching it, playing it, or the intent of the person who wrote it. And it's it's not always clear. I tend to err on the side of the person who wrote it, but that's a big argument. So
sometimes the person that wrote it doesn't give you the answers though, and that's when the fans kind of have to allude to what we've got and kind of.
And sometimes the author would like almost appreciate their audience kind of making their own interpretations, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. They love the ambiguity for sure.
Well, that's that's sort of the paradox here is what if the intent is to make something to tell you to come up with your own intent. To figure it, the correct interpretation is that the author wanted you to come up with your own interpretation.
And then Metal Gear Solid 4 comes along. Yeah.
Right. That's paradoxical, but like that's Metal Gear, in a lot of ways.
And I understand the question, but I don't know if I would. I understand and I empathize with the question and the struggle, but I don't know if I would use struggle as the best word for it. Just because like at the end of the day, it is a medium or a piece of art, and I'm willing to open up and discuss these interpretations. But it doesn't necessarily feel like a struggle. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, someone has a wacky headcanon, I'm like, all right, whatever. Cool.
There's also just so much to it that without more specifics, like, do you mean like a specific theme, a specific game, a specific plot point? It's such a broad, gamut of topics that I don't even know where to begin on that. There's some stuff where I lean one way, some stuff where I lean another way. It's just, I'd have to have a more specific question to really answer it to any good extent.
So to answer you, Crisis, yes. All right, next question. We just struggled through that for sure.
Well, you picked the hard one. So
I know, that was fun. No, that was a good conversation.
I'm looking at some of these and like I see a couple that would be fun to answer, but a lot of people are going to hear it and go like, "Oh, I know the answer to that." Or it's going to have a short answer, even though it's an interesting question.
I mean, like, just because, like, it's like that XKCD comic, we don't have 10,000 viewers, but it's like that thing where, like, somebody, like, 10,000 people learn a new fact every day.
Yeah.
So don't think about...
Fire it out.
Yeah, somebody's going to learn something from it. That's what matters.
We said that line on the last episode, so people that didn't hear it will hear that fact again today. Just reinforcing that fact.
10,000 more people. 10,000 more people.
We're at 20K. Let's go.
Can I do two? Because I can answer one of them.
Yeah, we got time, man.
Fire fast. Okay. Too Tall Tony wants to know, why would Koji Pro bother to write the word hope on Snake's cigarette at the beginning of MGS2 if no one was going to be able to see it? Well, clearly you did.
Mm.
Now
wait, I don't know about that. So is that something that's viewable like in the document or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you can't really see it in the original game though, which is his point. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
But first off, quick background: Hope cigarettes, real brand in Japan. Second, because artists love to put in Easter eggs. That's basically it. We can't help ourselves. It doesn't matter if nobody sees it. And eventually people did with the document of MGS2 and emulation and texture dumping and, et cetera, et cetera. But really that's it. Artists like to hide things. I mean, I'll give you an example from MGS2. Some of the markings on the walls in the big shell are not random serial numbers. They are the actual development designations for the map that you are playing in.
Yeah, and as Nitroid has previously kind of said, and I'm going to say again now, there are things in Metal Gear that the artists and things have put in that we haven't found yet. I guarantee you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's why, because artists like to have fun, and game development is tedium. That's it. That's all.
I've been marathoning Breaking Bad. This is my 4th watch through. And I'm all about right now the devil in the details, even if they may not be seen by the audience. They will be seen 15 years later
Yeah.
on a subreddit somewhere.
Keeps coming back. People are still finding stuff in MGS2.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
We got a quick little tidbit from our buddy Fred here. He said Hope Cigs are the same ones that Kiryu smokes. So
Oh, that's sick.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I didn't know that.
Thanks, Fred.
The other one I was going to answer, which I guess this might clear up a misunderstanding for the person who asked it, so I want to answer it to help them. But SMBSS fan asks, in regard to Metal Gear Solid 2, what does digital censorship have to do with recreating Shadow Moses? Nothing specifically, but that wasn't the point. The point of recreating Shadow Moses had little to do with Shadow Moses itself. In a nutshell, the S3 plan, the actual one that you hear about at the end, the selection for societal sanity, summed up, the point of that is, can we use a computer that has tons of information and tons of power to control various events around, the world or the country or whatever you want to have it? Can that computer come up with a scenario that if you put a person through them, you can change the personality of the person that went through it? Can you shape them into what you want? In this case, the test that they ran to see if they could get this mechanism of changing a person to work was, let's take this guy, Raiden, who is very different from Solid Snake, and put him through a pseudo recreation of Shadow Moses and see if he ends up being like Snake. You can sort of determine for yourself how much of a success that was, but that was the idea. That was their bench test. That was their unit test. Let's run this because we've got all the variables and it's an extreme situation and everything's there and we can see if this works. That way in the future, if we want people to be more docile, then we can shift world events around and calm them down. Or if we want people to get riled up about something, we can shift the events around and rile them up. And that was the idea. It was a system for controlling human behavior. And they had to make sure that if they made a situation, it would actually change a person and how they thought. So it wasn't that Shadow Moses was necessarily important to digital censorship. It was that was the model they chose to test the system.
I thought it was pretty cool too that, like Raiden was familiar with Shadow Moses too. So it
Right.
wasn't like this like new concept, and like he went through that knowing that Shadow Moses just happened and still wasn't really like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's really, the first time you play MGS2, it's really hard to wrap your head around this concept because it is very abstract.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really telling of where they cut stuff with the fact that you get the Solidus speech where he says S3 stands for, and then you immediately get that that's not true. I think that's where all the cut content is, right? Because the pacing is so weird.
Well, it's because of that cutscene with the Arsenal crash not being there. There's that. There is definitely something that you lose without that.
Yeah, you've got probably 10-15 minutes of exposition between that and the deal talking to the AI.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they didn't really cut any dialogue as far as it looks from the script. There were a few things that they cut, nothing really significant, but that scene, is it's I know this term is so overused, but that scene of Arsenal crashing is sort of a liminal space. It's a transition from that part of the game to the end of the game.
Yeah.
And without it, there's not a clear division and you get sort of lost.
I still think it works. Don't get me wrong. It's just you can tell when learning the information afterwards. You can tell. You can see it.
I've heard the argument put forward that it actually works better without the cutscene because it maintains this like dreamlike state of the damage is already done. You don't see it. It never anchors you to reality.
Yeah, I get that vibe. Like
I see that.
it fits with the surrealism.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Ozymandias, I think you pronounce it, where he's like, I did this 15 minutes ago.
It's but you can tell in certain in certain angles during the Solidus speech cutscene, that there were adjustments made. Like when he's talking and is like about the founding principles of this country, and the camera pans up to an empty flagpole, right? Like obviously that was removed, and you can tell. But so I don't know. I mean, it's probably never going to happen, but I would love for there to be like an uncut MGS2 that has all that restored content. I'm not even sure if they recorded some of the lines in the script. Like Liquid has an additional line where he's laughing about, not really laughing, but sort of commenting on how, it'll be a full-scale disaster. That's got a nice ring to it. Stuff like that, little quips.
Yeah.
And like, who knows if they even actually recorded that. But then you've got like the Karen Hojo news report at the end, and I mean, God, who knows?
That's like the only thing I think of when people talk about like, oh, remake. I hope they remake it. I hope they do a remake of Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, I dread it, but like, if they were going to, I would love to see everything that was left out.
Don't remake it. Just add everything back in.
Hell yeah.
De-censor it. Ironically,
Substance
MGS2 was
2.
censored, which is kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, it was self-censorship, but still. And I think it was the right call, but...
Yeah, of course it was, but it's been long enough now.
Yeah. Like, I remember hearing a news report after 9/11 where radio stations were being... I don't know if they weren't necessarily banned, but none of the radio stations would play certain songs like Burning for You. And,
or
yeah.
I Want to Fly by Lenny Kravitz. I remember that.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man.
But the way you heard people gossip about it was that they were banned from doing it, even though that probably wasn't the case.
It was probably just more like a, hey, let's read the room here and not play shit like that. Okay.
Yeah.
The guys, the rare guys, like when not the rare guys, but like David Doak, what they printed Time Splitters 2 on 9/11, and they were on a flight to America with the copy, and the plane got diverted.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he literally post the copy of the game every year. Like the white disc with it's like the first print of the game that they were on the plane with, and he posts it every year. And retells the story of them flying to America with it and the plane getting diverted. It was literally on 9/11.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh man,
what a story.
That'd scare the hell out of you. All right, well that was a downer.
I have a question here that I kind of had this question myself because I've been thinking about it for a while. What happened to Master Miller's ethnicity? This question is from Metal Gear D Model.
Oh, my dude,
who has been really supportive. I've had a pretty hard past 2 weeks, and Metal Gear D has been very supportive. So shout out, I really appreciate it, man. But yeah, what the fuck happened to Master Miller's ethnicity?
Let's see. He was half Japanese, half American, right?
Right.
Okay.
And I distinctly remember, you know how like with Metal Gear 2, there's like the original art, and then there's like the art that they changed to make it feel more like a Metal Gear Solid 1 vibe.
Yeah.
I remember the first version of Miller was like, he looked very like Pacific Islander.
Yeah.
Are you talking about in Metal Gear 2? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So that's why this is a bit of a mystery to me as well.
Yeah. God, who was he? He was modeled after an actor too, wasn't he? Shit. Who is that? Like, because all of Metal Gear 2 were originally modeled after actors. But I'm trying to think who Kaz was. Here's the sheet. God, who is that guy?
I'm actually struggling to remember his name, and I know
feel like
it
I'm too young to know this answer.
He's definitely like a famous actor too. Well, it looks like, I don't know. I'm guessing they might have switched up his design from the point of Metal Gear Solid when Liquid Snake took over, and then they like went with the whole blonde thing.
Yeah.
It's Hisayoshi Suge.
There we
I
go.
gotta look up this guy.
Hisayoshi Suge.
Yeah. Search the kanji, not the romanization.
What's he in though? Is he just
Is a survivalist and author.
This is everything Steven Seagal wishes he was.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's cool though that he was like a survivalist guy. He's like, hey, here's some tips.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the shift away from his from that background was probably MGS1.
Yeah, just to kind of fit things in. Well, I'm trying to think, did he ever I get that he sort of changed to a more Anglo-Saxon appearance, but was there ever a point where he like acknowledged? I feel like
He does in Peace Walker, I think. He talks about it.
exactly. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it's a major element in Peace Walker, but I guess by the time you get to I mean Metal Gear 2 really is the sort of the squeaky wheel here. with the designs they had.
Yeah.
Like Mel Gibson Snake and Albert Einstein for Petrovich, Sean Connery.
Got Danny DeVito in the mix, you know.
That's Bob Hoskins, dude.
Oh, whatever.
But I would pay to see that.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bah, bah.
But yeah, like obviously, like every single one of those was changed. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know, like the only one that really sort of retained any semblance of what it was previously when going to MGS1, because I'm not thinking of this in terms of like MG2 and then the re-release of MG2. I'm thinking of it in like everybody got an overhaul in MGS1. So
yeah.
Campbell is very similar, I'd say.
Yeah.
Big Boss is pretty similar. And there really wasn't much else.
What is Gray Fox? Fucking Dolph Lundgren?
God, Gray Fox, I mean, like, what do you even say there? I mean, they gave him white hair, but that wasn't until Portable Ops, though I think it's funny that they kept that.
Then you got fucking just Einstein chilling.
Madnar.
Yeah.
But she's a carryover from Snatcher, so
Yeah.
well, no, I mean technically no, because no. Yes, no.
And this guy looks exactly like Sokolov.
I've got my timelines mixed up because Petrovich was in Metal Gear 1 and then so it's the other way around.
So it sounds like the answer is, aesthetically speaking, they did change him. They gave him a more Anglo-Saxon look to be more consistent with, Liquid being able to mix it, like disguise himself.
To impersonate him, yeah.
But it sounds like, overall, like there's still some acknowledgement. Like it's not like they were just saying like, oh, it's a white man now. Like it's still there. It's still there.
Yeah, it's actually like a huge part of his background and what he talks about with his father and mother.
Yeah, he almost kind of doesn't like shut up about it in Peace Walker. Now that I remember, he's like back in Japan, like
right.
He says
that's
it a
why I'm
lot.
like confused.
Yeah, we just all forgot about Peace Walker.
They're working to change the law now, but back then, if your father was unknown, you couldn't get onto the Japanese family register. And in Japan, that means you can't be Japanese. So as I watched the American soldiers around town, I said to myself, I'm a son of America, the victor. My hair and eyes were different from the skinny, downtrodden Japanese around me. I told myself I'd leave this country someday and return to my true homeland.
I guess maybe it's more of like a question like, y'all ever seen Mean Girls when Karen is like, you're from Africa, why are you white? And they're like, oh my god, you can't just ask somebody why they're white. Maybe it's one of those cases.
Shout out Mean Girls, great film.
If it is Metal Gear 2, though, the answer is because they didn't want to get sued.
We got all these actors calling here going, what the fuck? Danny DeVito is pissed. He thinks it's him.